I've got our freight car turned over now so that I can access the bottom of the car. The first step in this project is to remove these O-gauge couplers from the trucks. Now to do that, we have to detach the bottom of the car from the body of the car. So I'm going to go around and undo all of these Phillips head screws all around the bottom of the car, and that will allow me to detach this bottom section and then set the top of the car off so it doesn't get damaged. Now, depending on the freight car you have, these screws may be in different locations. There may be different numbers of screws on different cars, but the principle is the same. So I'm going to start here and begin taking out these screws, making sure that I put each screw in my little cup over here so that they don't get lost. Okay, so I've taken all the screws out now, so now I can detach the bottom of the car from the body. And I'm going to take this portion of the car and set it aside. The next step is going to be to detach these trucks from the frame here. And that's done with a Phillips head screwdriver, just one screw per truck. And again, put the screws in your container so that they don't get lost. Once you've done that, the bottom frame will come off, and now we've got our two trucks. So the next step is going to be to remove these couplers from each of these trucks. In order to remove this coupler, we're going to have to completely disassemble this truck. And that disassembly starts by removing these springs that are on either side of the truck. There's 3 over here, and there's 3 over here. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, this is probably the scariest portion of this entire project, because you need to be extremely careful taking these springs out, because if you lose your grip on them and they fly across the room, you will never find them again. Or if you do, it's only going to be after crawling around on your floor for about a week. So be extremely careful doing this. You're going to start with a pair of tweezers and come in here and grab the spring and try to compress it a little bit with the tweezers. Don't rush it. And when you've got a good grip on it, pull it out. And then once you've got it out, immediately put it in this little cup so you don't lose it. And we'll do the same thing for this next spring. I'm going to reach in here, compress it a little bit, and pull it out in the cup. And I'm going to do it for this spring and these 3 springs over here as well. Alright, so if you've managed to take out all of those springs without losing any, give yourself a pat on the back, and now it's time to take apart the rest of the truck. We're going to start by taking out these 2 screws. There's one on either side of the truck. And these screws hold the sides of the truck on. And again, once you've taken those screws out, put them in your little screw cup so that you don't lose them. And once you've taken those screws out, the sides of the truck should pop right off. Like that. And once these sides have come off, set them aside, and then the wheels will come right off, just like that. The next thing you're going to want to do is take out these 4 screws that are in the side right here. Okay, so I've taken all 4 screws out of these sides here, and if I flip this assembly over, I can then take this bottom section off. And on this bottom section, there's a smaller piece that comes off right here. set this piece aside in a different pile than the other pieces because you're not going to need this again. And this bottom section here will sit over with the other parts. And this piece comes out too. We'll set that over here with the other parts. And so now we've just got the coupler essentially. So the next thing we need to do is take these screws out right here that are on the underside of the coupler. And when you take those screws out, this piece will pop up and you'll end up with this little piece of metal and these two screws. These also can be put over in the other pile because we're not going to need these again. And now we'll turn the coupler over and we'll take out the last screw, which is right here. This screw we won't need anymore. And you'll see the coupler will come off, and on the coupler there is this little spring right here that keeps tension on the coupler. We won't need this anymore, and of course we won't need the coupler anymore. Now before we reassemble the truck, just to review, you should have the parts from the disassembled truck into two piles. The first pile here are the parts we're going to keep. You can see the truck sides, the bottom, the spring armature piece there, the top of the truck, and the two wheel sets. Over in the other pile are the parts that we will not need anymore. That is the coupler itself, the tension spring, the screw for the coupler throwing mechanism from the bottom of the truck, this little piece of metal here, and then these two screws that went into that piece of metal. We won't need those anymore. Now, that doesn't mean throw them away. Put them away for safekeeping, because if you ever want to sell a car or if you want to convert it back to non-scale coupler operation, you'll want to have these parts on hand. It's now time to reassemble the truck, and I've got all the parts and screws for the truck laid out in front of me, except for the springs. I've still got the springs safe in our little cup. I'm going to start with the bottom section of the truck, and if you turn that section over, you'll see there's a small hole here where the coupler throw mechanism used to go. This is the front of the truck. So I'm going to place that there. Then I'm going to take this little bar piece here and put it right there in the middle, making sure that this piece with the little U extension is facing towards the back of the truck. Next thing I'm going to do is take the top portion of the truck and place it on top here, making sure that this section with the hole in it is at the front of the truck. And I'm going to slide it down in here and line it up with these screw holes, these 4 screw holes where we took those screws out earlier. And once I've got it lined up, I'm going to take these 4 screws that we took out earlier and put them back in. Okay, I've now got all 4 of those screws back in.